once I started healing, I'm like just blurting out all these things like I'm adopted and I'm blah 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 and I used to do this, and
Hmm.
that's not appropriate either, right? So it's like if you believe in chakras or something like that, it's kind of like the difference between
Yes.
having an overactive throat chakra and an underactive one, right?
Hmm.
And so I was definitely overactive, and I had to learn like what like everybody doesn't need to. I don't need to tell everybody every little thing, right?
Hmm.
I think if we can talk about parents for a minute.
All right. How
um,
much time do you got?
you're like, you started this.
Welcome to another episode of Graphic Content, the podcast where we talk all things who, why, and what the fuck. Now, my guest today, she is an award-winning creative nonfiction writer and blogger. Her debut memoir, In Search of a Salve, Memoir of a Sex Addict, was published in 2023, and she's the co-founder of the Black Adoptees Meetup, Dr. Katherin Garland.
Woo,
Yes.
bum, 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 bum.
I should add in the
You
sound effects.
should. You need to have that.
For you, I will.
Thank you.
How are you?
I am well. How are you?
I'm great. Honestly, leading up to this chat,
Yeah.
I reached out to you on a whim, and I was thinking about who I wanted to talk to based
Yeah.
on these creatives that I know, and I was a little nervous because you have so many accolades. I was a little bit like, would she even consider this
Yeah.
project when I just released my first episode 2 days
Yeah.
ago,
I
and I
saw
asked you
that.
like a month ago.
I saw that. Congratulations.
Thank you. But I'm so appreciative of you taking the time to chat with me. This is an honor, honestly.
I appreciate it. I like listen, I don't the way I live my life, I don't even I think because of my background, I got a PhD in 2010, and it really like the process of getting that doctorate wasn't about the doctorate I'm learning. It was about like me learning all these little things. And what I learned is that people are just people.
Hmm.
Like you put people on these pedestals, and no, they're just like, they're just like us.
It's true.
Yeah.
I've been asked the question, like, do you have idols? And I'm like, honestly, no, because
Yeah.
to me, everybody, regardless of what stage of their careers they are, we all kind of, as creatives, we all go through the same in our own
Yeah.
version of it, right? Our own struggles
Yep.
and
Yep. Yep.
paths. And if we start to compare, if you look at the higher level, we're all kind of the same.
It's all the same. Yeah. So
Hmm.
I'm here and I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. So, looking into your background, and I first met you, was it last year now?
That was 2 years ago.
S- Actually, in my head,
Well,
it's
okay.
like six
So,
months ago.
like, well, right, right. It seems like it was yesterday, but so let's say like a year and a half ago. But it was
23.
October 2023. Yeah.
Wow, that's
I know.
wild.
I
And
know.
so how did you end up in Windsor, Ontario?
Right. So, Dr. Donardo, who
Hmm.
I call Dr. D,
Yes, me too.
yeah, she became a really good friend of mine through blogging.
Hmm.
So I started blogging in like 2015, and I want to say maybe she did this like around the same time. And unlike other social media, blogging really is like a safe space.
Hmm.
It's a place where there's actual community. And she was one of those people, like we just vibed like from the beginning, and we would kind of boost each other up and read each other's work. And then we did 2020 hit. That's what happened. COVID hit, and I was losing my shit. And I was like, I mean, like, who wasn't? But I
Yeah.
was like, what should I do? So I did this mental health matters series. And my intent was to reach out to people. For some reason, I have a lot of people who are like in the mental health field in some capacity, and she's one
Hmm.
of those people.
Hmm.
So I was like, well, maybe we could like just have a conversation. It's on YouTube. So we have this conversation. It's amazing, mainly because we were so cool, but that was the first time that we'd actually like seen each other virtually. So we spent a lot of time just kind of like oohing and eyeing over, over one another and gushing and all of the things. And then she taught me something. We talked about, I think it was about situational anxiety. And she's such an amazing professor. She's really good at what she does. She kind of walks the talk. But that video, I don't want to say it went viral, but like I think it got posted at St. Clair,
Mm-hmm.
like someplace on somebody's website. And the students really enjoyed it. So anyway, time passes and we get a little cooler. Um, and my book is coming out, and I'm like, where can I go to, promote this book?
Mm-hmm.
And I asked her, I said, do you think I could come to St. Clair? And first she was like, I don't know. I don't think so. So I was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
So then she circled back. She was like, I thought about it. And I was like, why not? Like, why wouldn't you come here? I was like, yeah, let's do it. So
Yeah.
that was it.
See, and it's just those chances, right, where you're just having a conversation, and then
Yeah,
you just ask the question, and like it's like this. Here we are, right? We're having this conversation.
exactly.
That's the thing that I love about the internet right now. As shit as it is, let's be real, it is a
Yeah,
dumpster fire.
it really is.
This kind of thing is what galvanizes me in my own life, is
Yeah,
to use it in a way that allows me to communicate with people who have inspiring paths. And I think that you are absolutely one of those people. I
thank
just
you.
hearing your story, first of all, I had no idea what I was getting into. She invited me, and because I'm friends with Dr. D, and she
Yeah,
sent me, she's like, hey, like this thing is happening at St. Clair, like do you want to come? And I remember being in just like a weird phase of my life. I was like, you know what?
yeah,
Like I need to get out of the condo, like get out of my place and just
yeah,
meet new people, get out there. And it was just hearing your story, and we'll get into it, but
yeah,
having you talk about your book, because it's directly from you, hearing the
yeah.
person who wrote it. How has it been touring with the book? Like how do you find your audiences are connecting with you?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for saying that. And what I have found, so I'll tell you, when I wrote this book, I was thinking I'm going to be talking about sex addiction. I'm going to be
Hmm.
talking about addiction.
Hmm.
I wrote it for women. I wrote it specifically for Black and Brown women
Hmm.
because we're so marginalized, right?
Yes.
But I'll tell you what, like St. Clair was one of the first places that I began to understand that this is bigger than like whatever my brain made up it was about.
Hmm.
Rarely have I talked about sex addiction. That's one thing. Um, Apparently, it has connected with people on different levels for different reasons. I remember specifically there was a young man, I think his name is Anthony, from Iran, who was in the audience, and he loved the book because he talked about the issues that he has with his father, his own father. And so it kind of helped him to, I don't want to say process, but it helped him to kind of understand, like he's not alone. He's not some like unicorn whose father abandoned him. There are others out there like him. And so that really it's been so interesting to like talk to different people, including you, right? Like, I don't think we're alike. And this is the point, right? It's like you
Hmm.
think that you're not alike, or you think that you're the only person who has like some issue. And that's absolutely not true. So that's what I've really been learning. Yeah.
That's the special thing about being human. I feel, especially in the last couple of years, like there's been so much light shed on the fuckery that we live in.
Right.
And we have to see that we come from different places, but we are all the same thing.
We
And
are.
this societal structure that we live within has been designed to
To
separate us,
separate everyone.
right?
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm so over it. Like, can we move on? I want to move
Yeah.
forward.
We can't. I don't know why, but no, I totally agree. I totally agree. I think separation has been the main thing for everything, right? So if I can convince you that your issues as a man are not the same as the issues I have as a woman,
Hmm.
which may or may not be true, if I can convince someone that my issues as a Black woman are different than issues of a Palestinian woman, um, then yeah, then it's like, who cares, right? Until, because I don't have to care about your issue if I'm
Yeah.
not like you, right?
Yeah.
Until something happens and you're like, uh oh.
I can sympathize, but I can't empathize with certain things because
Right.
I don't come from that background. I don't have that experience. When you're talking about relationships to parents,
Yeah.
things like that, not to get too deep into my own, but that I connect with that because
Yeah.
culturally, so I'm Italian, my
Mhm.
parents are immigrant,
Mhm.
very old school, macho, no feelings, no emotion, no, and I'm
Yeah.
a little gay boy. And so
Yeah.
growing
Crumbling
up,
on the inside somewhere. Yeah.
yeah, looking
Good
for that
grief.
connection. And so,
Yeah.
now I'm 37 this year and I'm coming to
Sure.
terms with so many things where I'm like, I have a lot of unresolved shit from when I was a kid that I'm realizing, okay, it's there, I acknowledge it, but I'm trying not to let it overshadow like my current state because I feel like I
Yeah.
have evolved. And so
Yeah.
with you and your story, talk a little bit about the memoir itself because I do want to, for anyone who doesn't know, like where did it come from, where did it stem from, and what inspired you to put this together?
It took me about 9 years to write this memoir. And something happened. Of course, I'm not going to say, but because I was in an addiction cycle.
Hmm.
Like most addicts, I had a rock bottom moment where I could not afford to continue to live the way that I was living. And that made me kind of like stop and say, okay, what actually happened here?
Yes.
Cuz so for people who don't have an addict's brain, cuz our brains are different when we're in that cycle. It's hard to understand, like, why would you keep repeating, like doing the same thing over and over and over, right? Even if you have like a friend, right?
Yeah,
If
yeah,
you-
we'll talk.
right? Sometimes you'll have a friend who, like, I had a friend whose mom used to drink all the time, and she would get sloppy drunk. Sometimes the police would be involved, and then she'd do it right over
Hmm.
again the next day. And the friend was like, why does she keep doing this? And I'm like, because you're not consciously doing something, right?
No.
But so this rock bottom moment caused me to stop and say, okay, I have no idea why. I think it was 41 at the time. I'm like, why am I 41, married with two preteen daughters, still doing the things I was doing like at 16 and
Hmm.
19, right? So like literally sat and I did a meditation. It was a relationship meditation. And I'm thinking the relationship meditation is going to be telling me like what's wrong with everybody else so that I can like interact with so I can interact with them, right? And of course not. The relationship meditation is like all about the relationship you have with yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, and so specifically, there were all these questions. One of the questions was like, "What are you afraid of?" And my answer was, "I'm afraid that if people really knew who I was, they wouldn't love me." And then I was just like, "Oh no, I really think that." And I had never thought. And then it just kind of went from there. So I started just writing,
Hmm.
tried to think of my earliest memory of just myself. In the book, there's a part at the end now. It says something like books were my sustenance or something like that. So if that was my first sentence when I was sitting down trying to figure out who I am and how I got to be where I was. As I started writing, I started reading things. I read about codependence and I was like, aha, that's it. I'm just codependent. I started reading about, I'm trying to think of what else. It was all these different things. And with each iteration, I'm like changing this, what I don't know as a book, right? I just think it's just me writing. But then I
Hmm.
start thinking like, oh, this would be a cool story. Like, sure. Never in a million years did I think I was going to write about sex addiction at all because, again, I am a mother. I'm a mother to two daughters. I'm a wife. I'm a professor. And so I was like, I'm not about to. I read the sex addiction literature, and that's when I was like, oh, that's what's wrong. I am, well, I was a sex addict. And so, like, I revised everything, changed the whole book, to specifically hit on these ideas to show people again, because sometimes when we talk about sex addiction, we think of white men, That's who we think of.
Hmm.
If every time I say this, even when it first came out, my friends were like, I don't think are you sure this is what it is? And then of course they read the book and they're like, oh, okay, you're right. I'm not the face of sex addiction, is my point, right?
Hmm.
So anyway, over these 9 years, I'm writing, figuring myself out, writing more, reading more stuff, read the sex addiction literature, decide that's what it is, and made a really conscious decision like this is the book that has to be written and published.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're moving into an era of, especially where we live in a society that is very focused on the surface,
Mm-hmm.
the fake. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I'm hoping that we are moving into an era where people are becoming more open, they're talking about themselves more freely, and
Yeah.
that's the stuff that I resonate with the most. And I don't necessarily I connect with people who are authentic, and I try my best to be authentic. And even in this platform, I find I myself, but I'm like, what do I reveal? What do I keep to myself? Because
Yeah.
I don't want to completely put everything out there. And so to
Yeah.
someone like me who's on in the early stages of this project, like what would I know this is maybe cheesy, but like what's your advice to being authentic and open about, or like setting boundaries for yourself on what you
Yeah.
open up about when it comes to like the really personal stuff?
Yeah, so two things come to mind. I recently talked to a friend who's known me for a long time, and he was like, Kathy, I don't care what you put in that book. I know, he was like, you didn't tell everybody everything.
Hmm.
And I know that. And I was like, no, you're right.
Hmm.
He's right. The other thing is, as I was touring, I had to make a conscious decision. And early on, my decision was we are not talking about Mr. Garland because the book is not the Mr. and Mrs. Garland book. That I didn't want it to be like that. I didn't want it to read like that.
Hmm.
My husband and I have been together for over 30 years. Like I've known him since I was 19. So, of course, like he's in the book,
Yeah, of course.
right? But not as like a main character. Like this is not a novel about us. And so in speaking, that was one of my boundaries. I was like, I'm not answering any questions about him. I'm just not.
Hmm.
Um, so you are gonna have to decide like what is for public consumption, right? And what is just for you. What my sister tells me all the time is sometimes you should just write just for you, which I do, like a journal. Everything is not for everyone to consume. So I think that would be the advice that I give to you too. And you know what those things are, right?
Yeah.
And you can also have like some, like as I was touring early on, I had like just some basic answers that pretty much everyone asks the same questions over and over. So
Yeah.
yeah, and so I think you should kind of do the same. Like maybe just have like, what is your focus, so that you know this is what I'm going to say to people,
Hmm.
or and not like I'm not going to discuss these things over here.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
to me, my focus is not, this isn't about me. I don't
right.
want this to be about me. And like, obviously I'm the one facilitating it, but I really wanted this platform to be about who I'm speaking to and their lives. And
Yeah,
so I'm learning, like how much of myself do I interject, because I obviously am part of this. Like but at the same time, like I'm way more interested in what you have to say. And
right.
so it's like, how do I strike that balance? And I'm not like asking you like, oh, help me. It's more
No,
like,
no, no. I
you
get
know what
it.
I mean? Like,
I
it's very
get
much
it.
like, how do you strike that balance where my personality is here, but I also am like, I'm all about the guest. I really want to focus on
Yeah,
your story.
yeah. I think that's the I have so many thoughts. You'll see that, but like, one
Good.
thing
I'm a
is,
chatty bitch, so.
so it works out good. So like, there's two things. I have a friend who's a podcaster. I think that part of podcasting is is you do have to center the guest, right?
Of course.
Um, and it's okay to be like, oh, I understand what you're saying, right? But there are some podcasts I listen to where I'm like, why is this person talking so much? I want to hear from
Hmm.
whoever they have on, right? So I think there's like such a fine line between like interest and also like, oh, that resonated and let me
Hmm.
tell you why. But you're definitely decentering yourself.
I
Yeah.
know, and that's the I know there's a lot of conversation about like white people in general decentering themselves. So it's like I fully understand. It's this like I don't also don't want it to be about me. To me, I'm like
Yeah.
I it's like whatever, who cares? Like
I mean, sometimes it's interesting when you're like, oh, yeah, me too, right?
so on that note, when it comes to
Hmm.
podcasting, like preparing for today, you have so much content online. Like it's wild.
Good.
No, it's great. I was watching it's the Black Adoptee
Uh-huh.
podcast. I
Oh,
watched
yeah, 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 yeah. I
you were
think her.
featured there.
Let me get the title right.
Mm,
The Adoption Journey podcast. There's
yes.
that one. Okay, yeah,
Yeah, sorry. I'm also mixing it up with the meetup.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
The
yeah. That's okay.
but listening to that podcast and just hearing the perspective because I'm not adopted. I'm not a black person. So
Yeah,
to hear the stories of that life path, let's say, I remember there was one episode where you had made a comment about on the topic of opening up about your life, where you're
yeah.
like, dear white people, like, and you made a comment about how it is true, where we will generally like just kind of talk about our problems to people and not
Yeah.
really keep it to ourselves. And growing up,
Yes.
I grew up with this. It's like, no, this we keep
That's
it
so funny.
like, don't talk about our shit to people,
Really.
and yeah, and so because it's our business, right? Like, and I resonated with that because you become this person who like is kind of like locked down
Right.
in the stuff that you go through.
No, suppression is a huge part of my life. And I think it kind of goes back to what we were talking about too about how much to reveal.
Hmm.
Because as I started being on a healing journey, right? I was so used to suppressing everything. Like we're talking about 40 years of suppressing everything, all of the
Mm.
things and major things too, right? So that once I started healing, I'm like just blurting out all these things like I'm adopted and I'm blah 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 and I used to do this, and
Hmm.
that's not appropriate either, right? So it's like if you believe in chakras or something like that, it's kind of like the difference between
Yes.
having an overactive throat chakra and an underactive one, right?
Hmm.
And so I was definitely overactive, and I had to learn like what like everybody doesn't need to. I don't need to tell everybody every little thing, right?
Hmm.
It's interesting for you to say that because I think if we can talk about parents for a minute.
All right, how
um,
much time do you got?
you're like, you started this. I don't know. I've been saying, I don't know, Gio. Parenting is such an important job.
Yeah.
And as a parent, I know this for a fact. The first 10 years I didn't take seriously at all because I was parenting the way I was parented,
Mm.
which wasn't okay. And especially with two little girls who needed like nurturing and caring, and I'm like telling them just go be quiet and cry in your room like I was told to do. That was so inappropriate. I just think we don't realize how important parenting is, and especially with this like suppression piece, right?
Hmm.
So like where are your feelings supposed to go?
I-
Right, you're
I'll
like
let's just say self-destruction was a big part of my 20s.
yeah, because
Mhm,
that's what happens when you
mhm.
have no place. Like your emotions, we think that we're like pushing them down or putting them somewhere. They're not. They're just like here with you.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
that
then you
cupboard
have
is
to,
going to overflow. Sorry.
right. No, no, no. And so then you have to find somewhere to take care of that. And a
Hmm.
lot of times it's so like my book shows, yeah, for me it was sex and liquor, and a lot of it, because you think that you're like taking care of it or filling some type of void, and of course you're not. You can never fill it like that. I hate to sound like I'm blaming my parents, but they, we do co-create here. So
Absolutely, I agree with you on that topic. Like I feel you with the God-sized hole, I call it, where it's like you can never
yeah,
fill it. I have a similar story to you in the sense of like, what things that happened to me and how I've dealt with them.
yeah,
And I look back at what I was avoiding was like just sitting and like facing what was always like right here, like a
yeah,
like the dark night of the soul, or
yep,
it's like you kind of want to like you look over the shoulder and like take a peek, but don't stare for too long.
Do not.
But
You'll
also
be
acknowledging,
consumed.
yes,
Yeah.
and that's I was running from myself, and
Yeah.
something my mom told me on my 30th birthday, she was like, if someone had said to me when you were 25 that you would be the person that you are today, I wouldn't believe them, because I had progressed so much, because I'd done so much,
Yeah.
like leaving behind. I was like an angry person because I had all my shit, right?
Yeah, because you're suppressing all those things. Yeah.
Hmm. And so for you, how has writing allowed you to move past that? Because I find that as creatives, we have our go-to's. For me, it's like drawing, art. That's
Yeah.
been my thing. So for you, how did you find that through writing? Like, how does that work for you?
I'm glad you're bringing that up because I don't want to say flack, but I've gotten a lot of like, maybe I'll just say shit from people who, yeah, I was trying to think, what's the right word? When people hear that,
It's the graphic content podcast. You
so
can you can swear. Yeah.
I can say whatever I want.
I literally
So,
open with
the best cuss word ever.
my fave.
No, like really. So I've gotten a lot of pushback, but I think people are starting to understand this about like this idea of being able to self therapize, right? We've gotten into this thing where people think everyone has to go sit on somebody's couch.
Right.
Some people do.
Mm-hmm.
You do, because you're not going to do the work on your own. I am a little different. So, writing, once I returned to it, I knew I was a writer like around 10 years old, but it wasn't nurtured and, all of the things, right? So, then I come back to it after I have that rock bottom moment, like almost instantly. I think one of the questions there too was, what was something that you liked to do when you were a child
Mm-hmm.
that you don't do anymore? And for me, it was writing. And so, writing helps me to process like what is happening. Sometimes it can just be journaling, like anybody who's read The Artist's Way. She talks about these morning pages, right?
Mm-hmm.
It seems so silly, like, oh, wake up in the morning and write, but it
It's not.
actually, right? It's
I do
like,
it. I do it. I literally
isn't it?
journal in the morning.
It's like miraculous because it helps you like dump all the stuff so that you can get on about your day.
Like legit, it really is.
Right. So journaling helps. And now I know like when I should journal, when I should stop. If somebody's like pissing me off,
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to cuss them out and meet their energy with whatever. I just need to go journal about it and then decide. Now, the result still might be like, I need to go cuss you out. But first, I write about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
um, Not even just publishing, just literally writing has
Yeah.
helped me so much. Yeah, because it's like getting your thoughts out of your head. And for me, like I do a lot of ruminating.
Mm-hmm.
And when I find that I can't get over something, like I keep going, like my husband will be like, why are you still talking about that thing
Mm-hmm.
that happened last Tuesday? I'm
Yeah.
like, am I? Okay. So then I know I need to go write. Yeah, it just helps me to process for sure.
I'm the same. I To me because I don't know like if you're even into like astrology or anything, but like I
Am I?
okay, what are you? What's your
So I am a Gemini sun, Leo rising, and Aquarius moon.
okay, sister, like I'm a Gemini as well. So
What?
for
When's your birthday?
June 17th.
Oh, you're a June Gemini.
Oh, we can't, no infighting, okay?
June Geminis are very fun. So I will leave it at that.
Yeah.
Gemini. What else? Do you know all the rest?
Yeah, so Leo moon and Sag
Oh
rising.
yeah.
Mhm.
No, that's why we get along so well.
Mm. On the topic, like
Yeah, yeah.
I am cerebral
Yeah. All that air.
beyond. I
Yeah.
can't stop thinking about, and even if it's I know I'm fine. Like I know in my
Yeah.
heart so I my thing is being grounded. Grounding myself is very like is at the forefront of
Yes.
my practice on a daily basis to not be up.
All in the air. We like to
Mm,
fly. We all
hmm
that air. That's the air sign. Oh
When's
my
your birthday?
gosh. May 23rd.
It's a good time. Honestly, we're coming up to
Yeah.
in a couple months. I love being
Yes.
a summer baby, even though
Yes, me too.
technically spring, but mostly summer.
No, I mean, it gets warm, so
Yeah.
yeah, it's okay. I'm so
No.
excited. No, that makes so much sense because that is exactly what it is. It's like we can just stay up
Mhm,
here in the clouds in our heads
mhm.
forever. So we have to find things to like bring us back down here.
I'm with you on that because when you were talking about like, self therapy, I agree 100%. I'm the person, the idea, I've gone to therapists over the years. Like I've tried so many,
Yeah.
and I don't know about you, but I usually am like couple sessions in, I'm like, I already know this. Like no,
Yeah, like
and
what the
I
fuck are you talking about? I remember
yes.
I got into an argument with a therapist. I've been to only two. No, I didn't, right? I will never forget. And I'm like explaining to her how
Mhm,
my mother-in-law didn't like come to my graduation. That's what it was. My
mm.
my graduation to get my PhD. And I was like, she just sent a card and it's because she's in this religion. I was like, she could have just come on graduation was on Saturday. She could have come on Friday, stayed at home, kicked it with us on Sunday. And she's like, well, what if she just could do it in her own way? And I was like, bitch, that's what I just said. As
Yeah.
if she could have just, and I never, like, that was it. I was like, no, nope. Because I
Yeah.
don't have time to argue, to pay to argue with people.
I'm not in any way trying to say like I'm evolved or whatever.
You
Everyone,
don't have to explain it to me, Gio. I get
yeah.
it.
You're like, I'm sitting here, I'm like, I already know this. I don't, why am I paying you to tell me something I already know? And
And
usually,
especially now when you can Google shit, right?
if somebody's like, go to therapy, whatever, I'm like, I have so many things that I have set in place myself because, and I don't
Yeah.
know if it's a Gemini thing, but I had another friend of mine on an episode who will come out, and we're both Geminis as well. And she was saying the
Yeah.
same thing. She's like, I'm a self starter.
Yeah.
I figure out what I need to do for myself
Yep.
in when it comes to my mental state because I can do it myself. I know me best, right?
100%. 100%. And I do not have time to be sitting here. It might be a Gemini thing too, because we don't have time to just be sitting around
Uh-uh.
while you try to tell me what I could have figured out 10 minutes ago.
Yeah. And
I
so
feel so seen.
ugh, I'm glad because I do too. Who
Oh
knew?
gosh. That's funny.
But it's true. I don't know. So at this stage of your life,
Yeah.
what are you doing? Like what are the things that you put in place for you to like ground yourself and, be able to write and do your work?
Yeah, so I do a lot of not a lot of yoga, but I do yoga. I make sure I practice once a week for at least an hour.
Hmm.
Sometimes I do it here like in my place. Sometimes I go to a studio cuz being around people is a different type of energy.
Very.
Yeah. Um, Sometimes I do it virtually, but most definitely once a week yoga. I have a whole regimen that I keep to in the morning. I try not to do anything before noon because I just need to get like myself together. And so that is like,
We you're
listen,
like
when are you need to come to Jacksonville, Florida. When are you coming
yeah.
down?
Yeah,
Come down.
I'm gonna be in Florida. I'm gonna be in Fort Lauderdale in mid-May.
Really?
How far is
That's
that from
South
you?
Florida. Yeah, it's like 4 hours.
Okay.
Because that's near Miami. Are you going to hit Miami when you're there?
No, my brother lives down there and my mom has a place, and
Oh,
so I avoid Miami if I can. It's too busy.
yeah, you look like that is the, you just, your face is like, that is the most disgusting idea ever.
No, 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 that's not what I mean. I just because when I go down, to me,
You just hang out with your family and
I wanna
decompress.
vibe and chill, yeah. But I
Well, let me
absolutely
know.
I 100%. Usually I go to Florida in the winter for about a month.
Yeah.
So and I drive down with my partner, so I would absolutely drive to see you.
Yeah, let me know. Let me know.
Yeah. But okay, so wait,
Okay, we got off task.
no,
Yeah,
no,
what were we
that's fine. That's fine. What were we saying though? What were we
Oh
talking
yeah,
about?
yeah, about my day.
Yes.
So, no, I make sure that I exercise I would say 3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah.
Um, Make sure I have like some type of good breakfast.
Mhm.
I do meditate and it kind of varies. I got into this, it's called a 3-2-1 meditation that puts you in like in a theta
Yeah.
state. And that works. You know what I'm talking about?
Mhm. Yeah.
That's insane.
I
Okay.
meditate like regularly. Like I'm
Yeah.
I'm with you.
So all of those things, even before I start my day. And
Mm-hmm.
I have found, so now, of course, it's not like I'm gonna like be like go crazy if I don't do those things.
Yeah.
But I definitely, if I don't do one of them at least once a day, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I do all of that before I start my day. I also have gotten really good about boundary setting. So it's not just about grounding, but like I do not spend a lot of time like talking on the phone to people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because because unless we're having like I just wrote about this. It'll be out on Monday too. Unless we're having like a mutually beneficial conversation or relationship, really. I don't need to talk to you about whatever you're talking about for 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
That's just not happening. So things like that, or like how much time I spend just with people in general. Like I'm really good about just being like, yeah, I only have an hour today.
I I'm with you 100%. Last year, I felt I don't know. I felt it was like a transitional year for me in my career, just in how I see myself in the world,
Yeah.
whatever. And one of the things I was like, I have no qualms saying no to social events, to certain things. Because I was like, my energy, especially in a post-COVID world, I'm like, I don't actually need to be around people that much. Like in my
Not at all.
earlier, once again, not to harp on the Gemini thing, but like
No, I
very
hear you.
social. We
Yeah.
feed off of other people's energy. But as I'm getting older, I'm like, I don't. I actually, I feel like
Don't want that.
like a generator to myself. I'm like, if I can
Yeah.
self-generate my own
Yeah,
energy. I
yeah,
don't need
yeah,
to be
yeah.
around people because
That's so
it's draining.
interesting. You might want to. They say that your rising sign is more like who you are.
Yes, I don't know anything about it, so please educate me.
I'm recently in friendship with a Sagittarius, and I'm getting to know her
Hmm.
still. But that's what she sounds like. What you just described sounds a lot like how she is.
Have you done human design like that?
I was gonna ask you about human design. I have done it, but Geo is so confusing,
It's long.
and
It's
it's a
very
lot.
long. It's a lot
So
of
I did. I
information.
spent some time like I spent some time looking at each little thing and then like
Yeah.
googling what it means, and so it's super accurate, but it's just so much. It's overwhelming.
It feels like that meme of I think it's from the show It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where
I've
it's the
never seen it.
guy and he's like it's a photo and he has this wall of like when people are trying to like solve a case and
Oh,
there's
and
the
it's
red
all those.
and he's looking like this. That's how it feels
That
trying
is how human
right?
design is. You do not. No one has time for that. I just need like
Girl.
a. Have you? That's why I just pulled up my phone. Do you? It's called the pattern. Where's my
Oh,
calendar?
the app, the pattern.
Yeah,
I've heard of it. I don't know, like I don't have it. Download it? Okay.
and do the like subscription for like 3 months.
Okay.
Best thing ever.
Okay, done. I
Seriously.
I honestly, like you said, well, going into this, you're like, I don't know what we're gonna talk about. I'm like, I feel like we
Obviously,
could
is
talk about forever.
astrology, right?
Oh my
That's
gosh,
crazy.
this is lovely, but I do want to bring it back to you.
Yes, yes, yes.
Um, you're really involved in a lot of different organizations, different
Yeah.
initiatives. So, can you talk to me a little bit about how the Black Adoptees Meetup came to be?
Yeah. So, one thing that I learned with writing this book, ironically, is that I'm an adoptee.
Hmm.
It's not something that I ever really like talked about or thought about too much. But what happened was this woman, Tarsha Smith, who is the host of the Adoption Journey podcast, she and I met and did a podcast, and then she read the book and she was like, "Oh, girl, we got to do another one now."
Hmm.
And so in it, she's like, it was really cool how you wove your adoption story into the memoir. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? And so she was like, yeah, like, how you just, and I was like, oh, I didn't do that on purpose. What I was trying to do, and with everything that I write, I want the reader to feel like I felt
Hmm.
in the moment. And so what I was trying to do was, there's like this piece where you don't find out for a minute within the memoir that I am adopted. And almost everybody is like, bitch, what? Even after all of these things, and then you
Sorry.
find out, right? Now, and you're
Sorry, I'm not
adopted?
laughing at you. It's just
No,
the
but
way
this
you
is
said
how it
it.
was, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is how it's been. And I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah, because that's how I felt. That's how I felt in the
Yeah.
moment, was like, what?
Record
And then
scratch.
right, and then to tell me, like, just to be quiet about it, and like, who cares? It's not a big deal. So anyway, I meet this woman. We hit it off famously, and she invites me to go do whatever, and I do that with her. And so I get, like, introduced to the adoptee community. Time passes, and really this has just been a year now with this piece. We were just sitting around talking, like you and I, and somehow we were like, it'd be cool if we, like, just met up with other Black adoptees.
Hmm.
Because Black adoptees are so marginalized in the community. Like, when people think adoption, kind of like the sex addiction thing, they think white people
Yes.
adopting, right?
100%. Yeah.
And specifically white people adopting Asians, white people adopting Black people, white people, but not like, it's called same race adoption, right? So I
Hmm.
was adopted by Black people. Um, anyway, very quickly we put together this meetup. We met in Atlanta last year. About 25 people showed up. It was an amazing time. And we decided, oh, maybe we should just do this again
Yeah.
and again and again, right? So this year we'll be in Chicago in October. I think the website is blackadopteesmeetup.org. So you can get information there.
I'll
But the
include it in
plan,
the show notes.
yeah, thank you. The plan is to, like, grow every year. And that's exactly what we've been doing. So, like, this year we have somebody coming from the UK.
That's wild.
Yeah, like, people
That's
coming from,
exciting.
it's crazy. So, like, people coming from all over the country to Chicago, I think Seattle, California, Jersey, so literally all across the country, and now the UK.
How did you organize that? Like, what was the process?
Literally just like, so you mean the actual meetup, or the
Now that
organization?
it's expanding, like, how are people
Oh,
knowing about it?
yeah, so it literally is through social media. So, like we talked about earlier, right? It's like the thing we love to hate, right? But we're all on it and
I
doing
know.
it. But, like, what do we do without it? So through social media, and also, so two separate, maybe three. So because Tarsha has this podcast, she's in, communication with a lot of adoptees because they come on. Me, I'm just now getting to know people, but even with that, like, because they're getting to know me, now they're, like, kind of interested.
Hmm.
And then we both do our separate things, which I'll tell you about the other thing a little bit later. But I think because we both have our separate things, this is how we're, like, in contact with other adoptees. And we
Hmm.
also have now a social media account. So yeah.
That's exciting. It's
Yeah,
always, and all from a one-off, basically.
really.
That's kind of all it takes sometimes, just like a quick, and then
Yep.
that spark creates a movement.
Yeah. Gio, like, I've learned so much being here on this earth, and one
Hmm.
of the things is, like, the spark, because you've mentioned it a couple times now. It's like we well, I know for me in the past, I ignored it a lot. Right? You feel something, and you're like, yeah, whatever.
Hmm.
Now I don't do that anymore. If I feel good about something, then I'm doing it.
Yes.
And if I feel bad about something, now it takes me a minute, but if I know I got to be out of there, then I do it too.
It's so funny you say that, because that's how this podcast came to be. I
Yeah.
had been thinking about it for a few years. I was like, I love talking to people. Like, I genuinely enjoy talking to people about their life, their path, the things
Yeah.
that motivate them. And I couldn't get it out of my head for about 3 or 4 years. And then as 2025 approached, I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna live in fear. I'm gonna just go for shit. I'm gonna
Yep.
just do it. And I have had such an amazing time producing it, putting it together. The fact that the fact that you said yes, I was like, this is crazy. I'm like, and it feels like it's galvanizing. And
Yeah.
in today's world, for as an adult who we are jaded as adults, let's be real, we don't
Absolutely.
have that same spark, that thing that children have.
No.
For me as an adult, to feel excitement and joy I'm like, I'm going for it.
Yeah.
Why not, right?
Yeah, we don't I'm glad you said that too, because we're socialized to believe that only kids can like be free and
I'm
happy.
curious.
Right.
Hmm.
And we are also socialized to believe like, I've started so many things. Like I had not a podcast. I had a blog that was about menopause, and it lasted for about 3 years. I just ended it, I think, at the beginning of this year. It
R.I.P.
served its purpose, right? I did like a whole like, I hope you got something from this because it's going down.
Yeah.
And that was it. But it's like we think as adults that we have to like. I'm not trying to have like the award-winning blog, right? It's okay.
Yeah. Do
And
it
I
for
had
you.
fun when I did it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we need to like have more of that.
So going back to, like going inwards and
Yeah.
digging up things to be able to move forward in life, I have realized this little Geo that very much is alive in me needs to be honored a little bit more than he has been in the last 15 years. And
Yes.
you know what I mean? And so to
Yeah.
me, I'm like, what are the things that brought me joy as a child?
Yep.
Let's bring that back now that I'm like, in my late 30s. I'm like,
And you
let's
can do it responsibly.
girl. Yeah, and now we're in the age of telephones. I don't think I could have got away with it in the same way we did 15 years ago. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do know what you
Hmm.
mean. What you're saying is totally important. I think that we forget that. I read somewhere where like we think that we're not like the little 6-year-old when really we're all these versions of ourselves and
Hmm.
we're carrying all the versions.
Yeah.
And sometimes we got to go back and be like, it's okay, little 6-year-old Gio.
Oh yeah. Have you ever
Yeah,
done any like any Reiki or any like
I
energy
have.
work? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That
I'm, tell me about like now I'm interviewing you. Tell me about your experience. What did you think about Reiki?
So I've had a few different experiences, but the one in particular that made me think of this, I lived in Toronto for 10 years
Mm.
and I'm from like a small town. I grew up in like farmland.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so going to the city, I was like, I'm going to go to the city. I'm going to be gay. I'm going to live my life. Like, fuck this place, whatever. I was 19, right? Like I didn't know any better.
I'm gonna go to the city and be gay. As
Girl,
needs to be on a T-shirt.
and I did. Yeah, and that's when the 20s happened. So,
Oh gosh. Okay, go ahead.
so it was whatever. It's made me who I am today, no regrets.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because I moved back home, just I couldn't. The city was just too much for me.
It's
That's
a
why
lot.
my
Yeah.
comments about Miami, I was like, I like the city, but I could never
Ah.
do it again, right?
Yeah.
I went to this yoga studio. I found this one locally. It was very small. It was like all women. I felt very safe in this
Yeah.
environment. I feel very safe in women's energy because it's
Yeah.
just nurturing to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so one of the women there, she talked that she did Reiki, and I was like, inquisitive. I was like, I'd never really done this too much before. And she was like, okay, come see me. And but before, for the first or the couple of days leading up to you coming in, I want you to think about an emotion that you want to eradicate, like, or not. And for me, it's fear. Fear of success, fear of failure, fear of being seen, fear, because I got bullied insanely as a child. Like it
Oh.
was, it's fine. It is.
Yeah.
But like as a kid, I was bullied daily. It was
Yeah.
not because I was just an effeminate child. I was
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
all the things, right?
And it wasn't like today where it might be okay a little bit.
Very different. Yeah, this is the
Yeah.
90s, like early
Yeah.
90s. So I go to her, and her name's Carolyn, and she starts counting me down and like, imagine yourself at a place you feel serene, whatever. And basically, to sum it up, because I know I'm going long, but
No, it's okay.
she basically brought me to a moment in my youth that I had blocked, that I had it, but I was reliving it as though it was real. And
Okay.
I was 10 years old. So I don't know if you guys have Scholastics in the States. It's like
Yeah.
a,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, yeah.
A magazine
Yeah, so
thing.
you could order books through school.
Yeah.
I was in grade 4. I was 10 years old, and I had ordered this like biography on the Spice Girls because that was big. I loved the Spice
Yeah.
Girls as a child, whatever. And so when the orders came in, our teacher was reading out everyone's orders to the class. And because I had ordered something for girls, quote unquote, the whole class like laughed at me. Like and I had forgotten about this, but I like hid under my desk. I was crying. Like everyone's like, it was a very traumatic experience for me.
That is very traumatic.
Yeah. But I had blocked it out. And so at the time
Wow.
this is almost 10 years ago, I was 28, and she had me in my session, in my
Yeah.
mind, whatever, go into the classroom and grab myself, basically my little child self, by the hand,
Yeah.
and then take him out and like sit. And she had me speak to my younger self and basically say like, I love you. And
Oh.
in my mind I was hugging myself.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was one
yeah.
of the most, it felt real, like it was a
Wow.
real moment. And I have never in my life cried like
Yeah.
the release of
Yeah.
like 28 at the time, 28 years of shit was, I
No, yeah.
cried so hard I burst blood vessels in my eyes. Like it was crazy.
Wow.
So she finishes the session, whatever. I calm down, and she like, it's like a masseuse. Like she's like, okay, like I'm gonna
Yeah, yeah,
step
yeah.
out and then come out.
Yeah.
So I compose myself and I walk out and I open the curtain, and she's like, so how was it? And I'm like beaming, like I
Wow.
feel this weight lifted off of me. And she was
Because
like,
you'd released all the things.
girl, it was wild. And I just felt this, it was like this pivotal moment where I'm like, my 20s were so just like dark for me. Like
Yeah.
I was, you know what I mean? Like it was just not good internally.
No,
And
I
it was
get it.
just such a, and it didn't fix everything by many means, but it was,
No, but
I
it helped you
realized,
to, yeah.
acknowledge this thing that was in me.
Wow.
Yeah.
My Reiki was nothing like
so,
that. And that's why I haven't done it again, because I was like, what is this? It was nothing like that. But
so what was it like for you?
it was literally just like I was on the table, and the person did whatever, and I felt nothing. They like
I've
were
had that
doing
too, though.
stuff. Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know if there's somebody like specific to like inner child work or something. I don't know. Like,
Maybe, but I was gonna also say in my book, that's what I had to do to get over my get to the root of my issues, is actually go back to being a baby
hmm,
and hold myself, like, so everything you just said, but I did it for myself as a baby, like held myself as a baby, told myself I was okay, um, and like mothered, because that is a whole thing, like mothering yourself.
yeah. And how was that experience?
No, that like changed that, like you said, it changed everything, because I was ignoring the fact that adoption had anything to do with anything,
Mm.
when really it was the root cause. Like now that I've been in these adoptee spaces, now I know it's like the root cause of everything. Actually, everything stems from like your relationship with your mother in the womb. Um,
Yeah. Oh,
right.
yeah. And I feel like with the way that we're going as a society, we're at the precipice of understanding so much about the human psyche.
I hope so.
But I think the powers that be are really trying to like lock that
Yeah.
down, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I was thinking, is like, I feel like this is like the last ditch effort to hold on
Yes,
to the patriarchy, right? It really like seems like it.
it
And
is.
but it can't be held on to, because it's like we're moving into a whole new thing.
Well, we're in the age of enlightenment. Like this is,
Yeah.
it's facts. Like Age of Aquarius, like it's real. But to
Yep.
me, I don't care, and I feel like based on our conversation, I can say this freely and
Yeah, yeah,
not
yeah.
be looked at sideways. But
Yeah.
the structures that we have been indoctrinated into, they're crumbling, and it's
Yep.
so great to see. But this, like you said, the last ditch effort is,
Yeah.
it's like off, like
Yeah, yeah.
off.
And right, I won't say what I want to say, but yeah, because I want to wish harm to anyone. But for sure. And you're like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I know. You don't have to say it, but like I know what you're
You know what
thinking.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
But that's what I literally was just thinking this, how I think here in the States, the reason why we're allowing everything to happen, because at first I was like, well, maybe we're all just too busy to give a fuck, right? Because we kind of are. But what are we really busy doing, right? So then I was thinking, I think that it's just because these systems have to be done.
Hmm.
And we can't fight it. We just have to let it just kind of flow and tumble. like I read tarot card too, and all I keep thinking is like the tower. Like it has to all just
Yes.
burn up in flames
Mm-hmm.
and go away, and so we can start something new that makes more sense.
1000%. And I feel like even I'm so happy that we're chatting today. Like this is
Yeah.
so special to me
No, me too.
because it's these conversations, this is what I'm all about. Like to me, it's the connections that we make with people over this is like this is crazy.
Right.
You see this, right? Like we're and
Right. Like what else can you say?
what and to me, I love the fact that two people who live across the continent
Yeah.
with completely different backgrounds, different age,
Yeah.
we can come together and say like, I see you. You know what I mean? Like you're, yeah,
Yeah.
and that to me is
Yeah.
that's the shit that that's the hope that I'm like, we are not completely fucked.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. No, I think the majority of us know
Yeah.
that we're gonna be okay. But we just gotta ride through, like whatever that saying is, the only way over is through or something like that. We just gotta go through it.
Shaka said it through the fire. You know what I mean?
Yep, yep,
Like, it's
literally.
very that.
Literally. That's what we're
Yes.
doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom
Yeah.
always says this. She's like, she speaks like we do,
Yeah.
and she says like our souls, our soul contracts, if you believe in
Mm-hmm.
that, like there's a reason we are here at this time right now is
Yep.
to because we're here to see the shift in consciousness on this planet,
Yeah.
right? So that's
Yeah.
how I'm trying to look at it because I don't want to completely identify with what is on my birth certificate, right? Like I'm more than that. I
Mm.
feel like
Yeah. No, I
we're
get it.
we're spiritual beings having a human experience, and
Yeah.
I'm like, it's let's not get too attached to this because it's not that real. Like when we're out of here, then we're on to the
That's
next, right?
it. Anyway, yeah. Yep. I just keep thinking like you got like what you said is something I have been thinking ever since we've gotten a new president. I'm like, why the am I here?
Hmm.
Because I am like the biggest social justice, right the wrongs, give money to the homeless, love everybody, who gives a if you're gay or not. I
Yeah.
don't like, I'm like the biggest liberal that you will
Hmm.
ever probably meet. Like I do not care what people are doing
Yeah.
as long as you're not hurting yourself and other people,
100%.
right? And I was like, what on earth am I doing here in this time period? But here I am. So
But you're doing the work. Like you're and
yeah.
I'm not I'm
I'm
not
like,
trying to
yeah.
blow and but it's true. Like I'm not trying to blow smoke up your ass, but I'm going
No.
to for a second.
Okay.
Think about please.
I'm like, okay, I'll take it.
But genuinely, like you are doing so much with your and the word platform, like, you know, what does that even
I
mean
know
these
what you
days? But
mean.
you're connecting people to your story, to
Yeah.
themselves feeling not so alone.
Yeah.
You're connecting others with others, like people with other people. You're going beyond just existing as a human, and that
Yeah.
has to you there's something to be said about that. You know what I mean? So many
Yeah.
people, they have these platforms, and what are they doing?
True.
Selling shit. They're hawking
Yeah,
shit.
always,
Who
constantly.
cares, right? And so this I'm like, girl, I don't need to tell you. You don't need a white dude to tell you that you're
Well,
doing
I
great. You know what I mean?
appreciate you saying it. I'm like, tell me more. No, I do
Listen.
appreciate it. I really do. Because sometimes I'm like, I don't know what, like, it's like speaking into the abyss sometimes. But
Yes,
so I
100%.
do appreciate that. And I'm a manifesting generator. Um, are you too?
I'm a manifester. I'm an emotional manifester. That's girl.
Yeah. Yeah, now you have to come to Florida. Now,
Yes.
we have to meet.
100%. I'm so
Okay.
down.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's already done.
So okay, go on. What were you saying? We're gonna say
I totally forgot. But I think the
a
point was,
generator.
yeah, that I am a connector. That's part of just what I do. My whole thing, and I get annoyed with people like this. I never like, how can this serve me? I'm like, no, how can this like bring people together, provide community, hence the Black Adoptees, right?
Hmm.
How can I tell someone something that might help them and help them feel a little less alone and a little more connected? Because we all are, right?
That's
No
why
matter
you're
if we,
here. You
yeah.
just answered your own question. That's why you're
If I
here.
listen, if we talk long enough, then I'll I'll get the answers.
Oh,
Good
I
grief.
love it. Oh, Thank you so much. Like we're nearing the end, so like
Yeah.
I could talk to you forever, but
Thank you.
I appreciate you so much. This has been so nice.
Yeah, I agree. This was a great way to spend a Friday.
So I have one last question.
Yeah.
So I ask each of my guests. I like the idea of having a recurring question every episode,
Okay.
and so because I'm in branding, that's my gig and whatever.
Hmm.
So if you could look at your life, whether personal or professional, what would you
Okay.
say is the most on brand thing you've ever done?
I hate to be cliche, but I think really writing in search of a salve
Hmm.
is it. I think that when we talk about connecting people, I think the book has connected people in ways that I didn't know that it was going to do. It's made people think um about themselves. My 98, she's 98 now, the person who I named Grandma Honey in this book, I gave her a copy and she read it and she was like, "Oh, you made me rethink my whole life." And I'm like, "Bravo,
Wow.
then." My work here is done. um I think so. And also it's about the truth telling,
Hmm.
because I don't know why we feel like we have to lie so much living our lives. I mean, I
Yeah.
know inherently, right? I get
Yes.
it. But we can we can pull back on the lies. And so I think this book really, I don't expect for people to give the level of truth that I did with that memoir, but I think if you can be like a step more truthful
Hmm.
to yourself first and others, then that would be great. So I think literally writing that book and publishing it was the most on brand thing I could do
I
thus
mean,
far.
it's a major thing. Like it's something that has. I mean, it's connected us. That's why we're
Yeah,
here today, right? So
great.
that's very special.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
No, thank you for asking that question. That's a good one.
Yeah, I don't know. When I was putting this thing together and like thinking of the framework of it, I'm like, I want something like I don't know, something at the end that's fun. So I
No, that
appreciate you
is. It
humoring
makes you
me.
think. No, it makes
Yeah.
you think about it. So I like it.
If anybody is wanting to connect with you or find you on your platform or anything like that, where can they do that?
Yeah, everywhere. I have so many things. So Instagram, I am at K Garland. I'm really at K Garland everywhere.
Hmm.
But I have a website, kegarland.com. I have a Substack, which is kegarland, I think, .substack.com. I have a YouTube channel, it's K Garland. You can also, if you are a Black Adoptee, follow Black Adoptees Meetup on Instagram. And information about meeting up is also blackadopteesmeetup.org. And one thing I didn't mention, but I want to say,
Hmm.
is that I also am working with another adoptee, Anna Linde, and she is a sexologist. But she and I are putting together a workshop about sexual health. So be on the lookout for that.
Is that coming to our senses?
It is coming to our senses,
Hmm.
yeah. How to something about sexual liberation. So we're
Hmm.
the first people we're starting with are adoptees, and you don't have to be a black one to participate in this,
Hmm.
or a woman. It's for everybody. But our plan is to go demographic by demographic. So eventually women, eventually men, and whoever else, because what we want is for everybody to be sexually healthy and to stop using sex like a drug. Yeah.
If only I'd met you 10 years ago.
It's okay.
Better late than never.
Oh, right. Exactly. Exactly.
Oh,
Oh, this
thank
has
you
been
so
fun.
much. Yes, I agree. Thank you so much. This has been so nice.
Yeah. Thank you for inviting me, Gia. I appreciate it.
Like I said, I just wanted to use this to talk to cool people, like honestly, and to just shoot the shit really about
Yeah.
our creative paths. And to me, that's something that interests me the most. So I appreciate it.
I think we did that.
Yeah, we did the thing. Yeah. And to anyone who wants to connect with me, you can reach out to me through geographic.com if you have any design questions or anything about branding. And you can find the podcast at Graphic Content Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and on my website as well. Bye. Do you want to say bye with me?
Oh,
Bye.
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 I was like, is it just his bye?
No, no.